And a 10 production date. Did you know that the FNAF movie first started being discussed in 2015? Yeah, well, it's 7 years later. After that, the movie aimed to release in 2020, and then in 2021, Scott said that filming would start in spring of this year. And now, in 2022, from the mouth of Jason Blum himself, or I guess technically from his fingers because it was on Twitter, we now know that the FNAF movie is supposed to be filming in February of 2023. As to whether that's actually going to happen is honestly questionable, since I mean this is yet another time that we've been told something is going to get filmed, but we won't know if it's true until February of next year. But at least it's something to look forward to for the end of winter, since for some reason someone decided to put Christmas at the beginning of the coldest and most depressing time in the goddamn world. So maybe instead you can have this be something that we can all look forward to after the snow, at least if you're in this hemisphere. Cause like once Christmas is over, alright, the snow has no point to be here, okay, and I want it gone. So I'll be using the FNAF filming as a way to cope, basically. In a 9 script theme. Back in 2021, there was a whole Reddit post titled "Bad News About the FNAF Movie," which plenty of Redditors also decided to report for breaking Rule 9 of the FNAF subreddit, that rule being no misleading titles. And technically, they were right, since this was ultimately a joke post by Scott Cawthon, since the bad news was that they came up with a script, so they weren't making any more scripts. But again, it wasn't removed because, I mean, it's Scott. The scrapped scripts included things like The Plushies Take Manhattan, Silver Eyes, Pawn Shop, Cassidy, and Ghost Trackers, which is basically just the Ghost Facers from Supernatural but FNAF themed. But they all had their own issues. Some were too crammed, some had too low stakes, some were just plain old boring, and also apparently a lack of coherent story was listed as a problem for one of them, despite that being the whole selling point of the series. But eventually, they settled on a screenplay known as the Mike screenplay, which has the description as, quote, this makes sense, why didn't I think of this before? So, that's what we know. We know that it's probably themed around Mike, but that's it. Also guys, if you're enjoying the video and want to see more like it, be sure you hit like, alright? It helps us out. The algorithm is a pain, so please hit like, juice the numbers, it inflates my ego exponentially, and I need it right now. Okay. In a date, original plan. In July of 2015, it was reported that Gil Kenan, who's done The Poltergeist and Monster House, had made a deal with Warner Brothers to direct a Five Nights at Freddy's movie adaptation, since, you know, it was a year after the first release and it was immensely popular. In June of 2017, Kenan announced that his adaptation had been cancelled by Warner Brothers and that he was stepping down. And in early 2018, it was announced that Blumhouse Productions was set to make the movie with Chris Columbus, the one who worked on Harry Potter, Home Alone, and Mrs. Doubtfire, not the other one, as the director, and the project was aiming for a 2020 release date. But I mean, at this point, like I said, it's 2022 and they haven't even started filming. So I think it's fairly safe to say that while we knew the original plan, that's gone out the window. And then it's been laying on the I-95 being run over for the better part of 2 years now. And in this metaphor, the window is also next to the highway.
Number 7. Fredbear's Family Diner. This is one of the most historically meaningful locations, so of course we would want to visit it and have it be a real place. Fredbear's Family Diner is known for being the very first in the long line of restaurants opened by Henry Emily and William Afton. At least that's what we think currently. It is likely that as the lore changes and evolves, this fact too could change and evolve, because that happens a lot with FNAF. We just gotta stay flexible. And of course, considering how theories change and evolve as well, which of course is how many of us form opinions about and flush out the less established lore. As such, Fredbear's is mainly a restaurant I wish were real, so we could simply visit it and get some more clues about the story behind FNAF. Whether that be in the case of actually getting to go to the real life version of Fredbear's, or just visiting, you know, a recreated replica, which is more likely because, you know, this story isn't real. The story isn't real, sorry guys. And of course, the recreated replica could perhaps have clues hidden inside it, in regards to more secret lore from the world of FNAF, which I would be here for. I just basically want like a FNAF scavenger hunt. I feel like that is a thing that I would really love. Number 6. Circus Baby's Pizza World. Circus Baby's Pizza World is another location that would be really good for addressing some of the unknown lore in this world. We also don't really get a good look at Circus Baby's Pizza World during any time in the franchise this far, so this could give creators and Steel Wool more freedom in creating that. This would also likely help it to appeal in a different way to FNAF fans, as then we could go see something that up until this point of its physical creation has mainly just been a mysterious and unknown thing in the games. Circus Baby's Pizza World is believed to have been created in the FNAF timeline after the first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location closed. It served as a temporary rebranding of the franchise, or a sister location, perhaps. Although some people have theories that Circus Baby's was actually supposed to be like a rival location, but I think it is still, even though it's not Fazbear Entertainment, it's still with that. Because, you know, Afton Robotics, I believe, is Afton's company that made that. I'm sure it's all tied up. But also, you know, lore and FNAF. It's confusing. Number 5. My own pizzeria? One of the coolest things about FNAF is that technically, if the restaurants from the franchise were made real, there is a chance you could get to visit your very own pizzeria. In FNAF 6 Pizzeria Simulator, we become the makers and managers of our very own Freddy's, which we can modify as we see fit and fill with animatronics, namely ones that may have snuck in via the decor you ordered from the Fazbear catalog. It would be pretty cool to go to a location where you are considered to be the owner, which is why I really want this to be a thing. Although for that to happen, either we'd have to be the ones to make the location a reality, or there would have to be a location made that has an experience sort of built in where all visitors are made to feel like the owner and manager of the location, which actually would probably be easier and of course like cooler in retrospect. Because, you know, I don't want to actually manage a place, I just want to feel like I manage a place. It's also why I love playing games where like I get to like run restaurants in general. Number 4. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza from FNAF 1. The first location of Freddy Fazbear's that we see is not actually the first location to have ever existed. This is the one, however, that I think many of us wish was real, as it remains to this day probably the most iconic location. This version of Freddy's is also smaller, which makes it feel like it would be more likely for us to see this one made in the real world. I just mean, you know, building the sister location, Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental, or even the Mega Pizzaplex, that would be a larger investment, whereas the Freddy Fazbear's from FNAF 1 would cost investors less, and would also cost probably less time to like put up. This Freddy's location has a main dining area with a stage, a backstage, a security office, a kitchen, a supply closet, a few hallways, and of course, Pirate Cove, which seems to be out of order at the time in the first game. Although I think if we got a real Freddy's, I would prefer if this area was open and not out of order, because obviously I want to go to Pirate Cove. Like, come on.
Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Mike. Based on what we know, thanks to Scott's Reddit post from last year, we know that the Mike screenplay, as Scott called it, is the script that they're actually using for the movie. Or at least, the one that they were going to be using for the movie as of 2021. It's been over a year since that post, so things might have changed again, but based on what Scott was saying about it, it had all the right characters, all the right motivations, and all the right stakes. So we can assume that Mike will be in the movie, considering how it's the Mike screenplay, and if he isn't, that's kind of an additional misleading script title there, Scott. You're breaking Rule 9 even more. He also said in that post that filming would start in spring of 2022, and we all know how that went, so I don't know. If Mike is in the movie, we can also assume that the other Aftons will be present. Elizabeth and Crying Child could have potential to be in there, unless the movie takes place post-1983 bite. But Big Daddy Afton is bound to make an appearance, given that he's the main antagonist of the series and also the father of Mike. And I mean Big Daddy because he's the father of who is seemingly the main character, not in the other way. So please continue to refrain from sending me Springtrap themed content, please. If you do, I will block you and report. But ultimately, and at number 2, Emma Tammy. Jason Blum, while announcing that the movie would be filming in February of 2023, or allegedly at least, he also announced that Emma Tammy will be directing. Emma Tammy is seemingly a little-known director, at least to me. I don't think she has anything major on her resume. Most notably, I could see Into the Dark, Fair Chase, The Wind, and the Left-Right game under her belt, so in my mind, this is certainly an interesting choice, but maybe someone that we don't know is who should be directing this movie, since with someone like Chris Columbus and like like Warner Brothers, they would just be worried about setting up another movie and making a successful franchise, whereas Emma will be okay with having a one-off under her belt as long as it does well, and if it does do well, it will look good having a second one on there too, especially with such a popular franchise and such a famous studio behind her. So needless to say that while some of her work has been subject to criticism before, this is her chance to bring everything back into the positive, and personally I hope that she kills it. No pun intended. And finally, in at number 1, real animatronics. Now, originally, when I saw production photos of the team working on the design for the animatronics, I genuinely thought that this movie was going to be stop motion, like Tim Burton style basically, but after Jason Blumhouse announced that the Jim Henson Creature Shop is working on the animatronics, it all kind of clicked in my head, because that's just kind of how the Jim Henson Creature Shop makes their props and whatnot, that's the process. And if you don't know, these guys are incredible, and they've worked on some insane movies, which also makes them an incredibly cool addition. They've worked on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Jungle Book, Where the Wild Things Are, Batman Begins, and The Muppets, not to mention Sesame Street, Jessie, and a whole lot more. And you know what, since Debbie Ryan is bae, I think that the Jessie thing is probably the biggest name drop on that list, alright? Ignore Hitchhikers, ignore Batman Begins, ignore Muppets, Jessie's where it's at. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty damn sick. So good job, guys. In at 9, Springtrap. Oh boy. Craftix Gaming's YouTube channel features a video of a real Springtrap costume, and honestly, it's terrifying. Springtrap is the main antagonist of FNAF 3, and this costume is freaking nuts, okay? This is a very good costume, and while Springtrap may not be the scariest animatronic per se, he's not someone that I'm gonna tussle with, you know? However, I do want to talk about what's going on with this character, because my guy, you just dressed up as a possessed man who is inhabiting an animatronic unable to die, but yet still somehow decaying. I don't get it. You're quite literally dressing up as a serial killer at this point. Like in the FNAF world, if you dressed up like this, it would be you dressed up as like Ted Bundy. It was like an equivalent in this world, okay? So if you want to be in FNAF that badly, maybe don't dress as a serial killer is all I'm saying, okay? I know that's ironic coming from me, given that I wear a purple shirt on the regular, but do I look like I want to be in FNAF? No, I cry about it on the daily. I have made things very clear that I don't want to be in this world, and if you don't know that, go watch more videos, okay? But this is nuts, okay? That's insane, and if Springtrap was delivering me my pizza, I probably would cry. In at 8, Ennard. Costumes don't really have to be elaborate to be scary, okay? Take this for example. This Ennard cosplay by the YouTube channel Skywarped33. This entire endoskeleton, like spaghetti bits, they aren't there, but the lights and sounds make it even more frightening than you'd think, okay? The face also opens up, and I think that we all know how I feel about animatronics who can move their face at will, or at least move their face in separate sections, okay? It's not something that should be allowed. However, even without all the parts and the various eyes, this Ennard cosplay is not something that I would want to run into in a dark alley, especially not after that goddamn vent repair minigame, because that caused me to have serious issues, okay? I used to like spaghetti, man, okay? Now what do? I won't be ordering spaghetti from this delivery service, that's for damn sure, although if they do have Ennard spaghetti on the menu, I might have to. But no, okay? Especially if the driver shows up wearing this, because holy crap, that would be terrifying, and I would rather die than see a real-life Ennard. So yeah, maybe actually don't do this, at least if you're delivering to me. And at 7, Blumhouse. Like I just mentioned, the current company producing the movie, despite the original director having left, is Blumhouse Productions. Blumhouse is still producing, even though Chris Columbus isn't directing. And honestly, that's probably a good idea in general for Blumhouse, since Blumhouse is known for making incredible productions on smaller budgets, Paranormal Activity being the best example of this. But also with movies like Get Out, Split, The Purge, Insidious, and more under their belt, Blumhouse was honestly who should have had this movie from the beginning. Especially since I feel like this movie can give off a very, like, Saw vibe with the whole springlock suits and all that jazz. Like, if the game scenario was made into a movie, instead of this being a separate entity, it would absolutely end up being a very Saw-like scenario. I can imagine, like, the phone guy saying things like, "The crank to those springlocks is inside you," and not in a metaphorical way, it's literally in your leg. And then there's like a time for like an hour before the sprinklers come on, which we all know is a bad idea with springlock suits and stuff. I don't know. I think it would be funny. That would be fun. Someone should do that as a fan film. And at 6, official casting. There was a lot of rumored casting for the FNAF movie a while back, alright? We even made a whole video about our favorite fan casts. However, about the official casting, alright, there is none. There has been no officially announced casting despite what Google might say. Google, when it brings up a cast list, doesn't actually use the movie, alright? It uses as many sources as it can to find the casting list, as an attempt to make sure it's right. This includes articles from before any official casting was announced though, meaning that currently, if you search up the FNAF movie cast, you're going to see it as if they have been cast, but this is all from articles, blog posts, and Reddit posts, and even more talking about what the community wants to see. So despite the fact that Willem Dafoe would make an incredible William Afton in my eyes, he hasn't actually been cast, I don't think, or at least officially announced. It's a culmination of the most popular actors that the fans want, at least currently on Google, which I mean maybe Blumhouse should look at before February, and also cast me in it, please, because that would be fun as hell. I want to do that. Halfway through into number 5, Wally's Wonderland. While it's technically not a FNAF movie thing, this is the kind of thing that I had to include on this list. I mean, come on. This movie starring Nicolas Cage was most definitely meant to be a FNAF movie before the FNAF movie could come out. Quote, a quiet drifter is tricked into a janitorial job at the now condemned Willy's Wonderland. The mundane task suddenly becomes an all-out fight for survival against wave after wave of demonic animatronics. Fists fly, kicks land, titans clash, and only one side will make it out alive. This is basically just the plot to a FNAF fan game, but in a movie form, alright? I even thought that the movie was called Wally's World, which was either the location from a fan game, or it just goes to show how memorable this movie is in comparison to FNAF. So this would honestly be hilarious if like Wally's Wonderland characters or Willy's, whatever it's called, ends up actually like in a FNAF game or at some point, or like mentioned in the FNAF movie. I don't know, that'd be funny. Hell, maybe this is like the movie that Scott's in FNAF universe counterpart ended up making because of the games he made in universe, you know? Like how Scott gets a FNAF movie in our world, maybe his game version did too. I don't know, I think that'd be hilarious if that's the case. And considering how FNAF is kind of leaking into our world, I don't know, it wouldn't be that far of a stretch. And a cameo or reference to like a clear store brand FNAF movie within the actual FNAF movie would be absolutely insane, and I would love it. I would pay money just to see that reference. And at 4, theories. We also know that there are tons and tons of theories about the movie, enough to make up at least 2 lists on this channel. However, we can't really be sure of which ones are correct until the movie releases, but I guess that's kind of the point of theories. But let's go over some of the current ones, alright? There's a theory that Jack Black will at least make a cameo, considering the viral TikTok of the beloved actor singing the Living Tombstone song. I mean, like, the lyrics he sings are even Five Nights at Freddy's, that's where I wanna be. So, to not let him be in Five Nights at Freddy's would just be a sin in my eyes, alright? Theories about the rating of the movie are also up in the air, positing that it could be something closer to rated R, considering how now most fans of the series are above the age of 18. Like, even looking at our statistics on previous FNAF videos, only 10% of the total viewers were between 13 and 17, and the other 90% was 18 and up. And the 10% could still be closer to 17 than 13, alright? However, if even Black Adam is gonna end up dropping its rating, I'm pretty sure that for the sake of the brand, the FNAF movie is probably gonna be PG-13 and maybe 14A at most, but most likely PG-13. And what I think is my personal favorite theory, the Scott Cawthon will reprise his role as the phone guy should the role be in the movie theory. I don't know, okay? We don't know much about the script that's being produced, but if it does have a phone guy, hopefully it will most likely be Scott, okay? And hopefully we'll get like a brief shot of him on the phone to get the fans cheering in the theater, because we'll all know that it's Scott. So, I don't know, that'd be fun. In at 3, Withered Bonnie. This Withered Bonnie cosplay is probably one of the scariest FNAF cosplays I've seen, and the scariest Bonnie cosplay. It is incredible that someone could actually do this, and it comes from the YouTube user The Nick of Time. At first, I legitimately thought that this was CGI instead of an actual costume, but lo and behold, it was just an insanely cool costume. Glowing eyes, seemingly actual aluminum parts, and a chest that opens that you can push out with the other hand, which results in actually quite the decent jump scare, okay? Frankly, in the video, I was kind of taken aback by that, so you know what? If that's where my pizza came out of, I don't know if I would take it. This kind of thing always impresses the hell out of me, because like, so far, the closest closest I've come to making a full costume was when I helped someone work on a costume, okay? But that's the closest I've got, and I can't even think to make something like this. So if you show up and my pizza pops out of like your abdomen chest area, I'm gonna tip you 100%. That's insane. But ultimately, in number 2, Glitch Trap. We know my issue with Glitch Trap, alright? We know that I just want to watch William Afton burn in the deepest pits of hell and then leave me be. I want him to be in actual hell and then stay there for all of eternity so that I can move on with my life, okay? I hate this I always come back thing that he's got going on, okay? It's stupid. And despite being dressed as the purple guy on various occasions, I still want William dead. So, when I saw this frighteningly realistic looking Glitch Trap costume, my nerves hit an all-time high. I think the sheer simplicity of a Glitch Trap suit is definitely something that makes this a hell of a creepy costume, since, you know, the stitches here are very accentuated. It's very clear, it has higher contrast than the actual suit in the game, but either way, it's freaking creepy. And if a serial killer is going to hand me my pizza, I don't know, I was gonna say something that would make the cops concerned, and I feel like I've done that enough, so like, let's not have serial killers hand me my pizza, okay? But you know what, good job, Bunny Creations on Twitter, okay? But like, why did you do this to me? And finally, into number 1, Purple Guy. While Purple Guy, again, isn't an animatronic, and I guess neither is Glitch Trap or Vanny, but you know what, I had to pad out this list somehow. I think seeing some dude dressed in purple delivering me my freaking Freddy Fazbear branded pizza would actually scare me to death. Like, I don't wear purple on this channel anymore because people kept calling me the Purple Guy, and the cops don't need any more ammunition against me, but also because I can't actually find that shirt at the moment. But still, this is something that I would absolutely do. If I had a car, I honestly might have actually delivered food for the Freddy Fazbear's pizza delivery service if it ends up opening in Canada. And you know damn well that if I was doing it, I would be dressing in all purple with a security badge on my chest, maybe even like a purple phone case for the occasion, just because it would be hilarious. Okay, I don't need a spring lock crank. Those aren't actually a thing in real life. While the term spring lock is used in real life, it's a totally different mechanism from what's actually in FNAF, okay? I'm certain most of you get the whole spring locks are real line from the Spring Locks and You How to Not Die Remastered thread from the FNAF wiki. However, actual spring locks are just locks that use spring. Like, from my research, what I gathered was that a spring lock in real life is, in simplest terms, if your front door's deadbolt was on a spring. Every other instance talking about real spring locks is just, it simply brings you to that page, or it quotes that page. So yeah, spring locks as they're used in the games do not exist in real life. Okay, the term is used, but in the real life it's 2 separate words instead of 1, and they are nowhere close to the same thing. And at 10, it's real, okay? A lot of people couldn't tell if I was being serious or not in the shorts, okay? And I guarantee you that this is actually real. This isn't something I'm making up, it's not a hoax, it's actually a thing. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is real, or well, is going to be. Kind of. Because of the company that made Mr. Beast Burger possible, called Virtual Dining Concepts, they did announce that they partnered with Scott Cawthon to take the first ever fictional video game setting and turn it into a real life delivery restaurant, okay? Emphasis on the delivery part on that, however, because I cannot stress this enough, there is no actual location that you can walk into. I'm going to be saying this a lot in this video, okay? Because seemingly no matter how many times I say it, nobody gets it. There is no actual location, okay? I leave a pinned comment on the short and nobody reads it. People even replied to that comment that said there was no physical location, asking where it was going to be built. Guys, it's really happening, okay? You'll be able to order it, but you can only order it online through food delivery apps, just like how they handle Mr. Beast Burger, okay? I just hope that this stuff is actually seasoned, okay? I may be white, but I do have taste buds. And at 9, Scott Cawthon. Apparently a lot of people think that after Scott retired, Steel Wool ended up getting the copyright to FNAF, but this couldn't be further from the truth. As you can see on the announcement, as well as any image of the logo for this delivery service, it does maintain that FNAF and all of its components are still under the copyright of Scott Cawthon. Virtual Dining Concepts website even says that it partnered with Scott and not anybody else in order to make this delivery service come to life. So yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say about this, okay, but Scott is the only person on the FNAF side, at least as far as we know currently, that is involved in the process. Mr. Beast isn't involved, Steel Wool seemingly isn't involved since they haven't mentioned it at all, since they only make money off Security Breach and Help Wanted. So yeah, okay, Scott is still the copyright owner and owner of the series, and I'm pretty sure that even for the next part of the series, it will remain that way. He may not be involved that much, but whoever the series is handed off to won't have the copyright or the ownership. It will just be stuff that is pre-approved by Scott. In to date, Twitter. There isn't really a lot of new information since we last updated you in the previous short on the subject, the second one, not the first one. However, the restaurant still have an official Twitter account known as @FFazbear'sPizza, and based on their account details, they've actually been planning this since January of last year at least, considering that that's when the account joined. You can also sign up for email and text reminders on their website, freddyfazbearspizza.com, and they've been responding to quite a few people on Twitter, but not me, unfortunately. It's kind of annoying, really. But they also haven't sent out any text reminders since the last video as well. Like, I signed up for text reminders, haven't gotten one, which really makes me believe that this was only meant to kind of course correct since the announcement came early thanks to the tweet that had the leak that blew up. Okay? Virtual Dining Concepts really needed to make sure that their website didn't have the information about upcoming projects available for just anyone to see, especially when the fanbase surrounding the delivery service is as intense as this one. This may have sprung up thanks to people searching for ARG clues in the wake of MatPat's last FNAF theory video about the Fazbear Frights books before he released his Please Stop video, which in my mind is the most likely scenario of how this was found, but since the account hasn't tweeted in a week now, I'm pretty sure it was just made public so that they might as well like lean into the fact that we already knew about it, so yeah. And at 6, Buff Helpy. Okay, so this may not be like cosplay or a costume that someone could reasonably wear, but Buff Helpy is probably the most disturbing non-cosplay character that I can really include on this list. If you don't already know, somehow, Buff Helpy is a meme that was created on a Daco FNAF meme review video and has ever since been haunting him and the rest of the community, okay? Don't get me wrong, I do love Helpy, but this Buff Helpy meme generated a whole load of Buff FNAF character ideas that now terrify me. Nowhere is safe from these horrific creations. If you look up any character, you're bound to find a buff version of them at some point. It's kind of like those games where it's like, let's search up a character and see how long it takes them to be sexualized, and then they scroll down. Do that with a FNAF character, but see how fast it makes them buff, okay? It's the same thing that happens to Chica, but buff, okay? No matter what this is, like what form of psychological torment this is, I would not wish it on my worst enemy. However, I'm talking about it because, you know what? It's hilarious. If Buff Helpy showed up delivering my pizza, I would constantly order from this place. Not because I want to see some like buff shirtless dude in a Helpy mask actually handing my food, but because that is the most genius marketing ploy ever, and I would be very proud of them. Halfway through into number 5, Nightmare Freddy. Nightmare Freddy is one of the most iconic versions of the Freddy character, even if there are only 3 games that feature them, those being FNAF 4, Ultimate Custom Night, and FNAF VR. However, this Nightmare Freddy cosplay is absolutely insane, and in my opinion, it would have been the front runner for the Coupe de France cosplay competition, but that was back in 2017. The video was uploaded by YouTube channel Gorgon Geek, and this guy plays the robot thing very well, but as soon as he drops that microphone, he goes into like terror mode, which is certainly something to behold, okay? I would have enjoyed it if he had the frettles with him, but the moving mouth is certainly a nice touch on this costume, especially with the attempted jump scares that they do in the video, like the Imagine if this guy got up on stage in a freaking Nightmare Freddy costume and then just started twerking. That would have won them the gold, okay? I don't know if they won or not, but that if they had it, that's what would have gotten you the gold, okay? But also, if Nightmare Freddy was the one delivering me my pizza, I don't think that I would actually end up eating it, just from sheer fear that they would have poisoned it, or maybe you put too many chili flakes on it. I mean, like, come on, look at me. In it for Nightmare. I've said it before and I will say it again. Nightmare is the scariest animatronic from these games, hands down. Get it? Because I put my hands down. This guy will get me every time, and it's one of the reasons that I refuse to play FNAF 4. The other one is Nightmare Fredbear, okay? But at least I don't have to really deal with them in real life, right? Oh wait, yeah, just talked about it. This is only like a nightmare character created in the mind of a coma patient in a video game, but it is still the worst thing ever. especially thanks to Zombunny Creations on Amino Apps, okay? We've got both Nightmare and Nightmare Fredbear. Ironically enough, Nightmare Fredbear is played by their twin sister. It's ironic because Elizabeth Apton is sometimes presumed to be Crying Child's twin sister. And anyway, these absolute hulking costumes are going to make me, let's say, drop a Snickers bar in my pants. If I saw this in real life, Jesus, imagine like actually like living in a house that's kind of laid out like the one from FNAF 4, and then like your kids want to play a prank on you, and then they dress in these and they come from either side. For God's sakes, I would actually rather die. If that is what's going to happen, I do not want kids. My grandparents' house is kind of laid out like that. Like not exactly, but it has like 2 sections of like on either side of the room, okay? So that could theoretically be reenacted. And if that ever happens, I'm going to cry. So if you start delivering my pizza dressed as Nightmare, actually good for you. And at 3, therapy. Some of these comments make me really think that there should be a group fund for FNAF fan therapy sessions because, dear lord, I make a lot of jokes, okay? But like I hope that these comments are jokes or supposed to be funny because, fingers as toppings? You want to watch the bite of 83 or 87? What the actual The comments on our first short about this delivery service, ignore me pronouncing first wrong, are very concerning if anything is supposed to be real. Okay, this is a part of why Scott kept saying that he wasn't going to make a real FNAF. And I think that this is like the best way that he could compromise to make it happen for the people who were good and wanted it, instead of, you know, the people like this. Like, why would he want to make an actual location if people keep commenting stuff like this? Seriously, I feel genuine concern for you if you're being serious about wanting to possess an animatronic. Yeah, be a fan of the series and love the series as much as you want. Don't sacrifice your life to try to make the series real. Okay, that's not a good thing. Look at all the bad things that happened in the series. Plus, possession isn't real, especially in the same way that FNAF's possession works, okay? That's entirely fictional. And besides, there is no actual FNAF restaurant or location for you to go to anyway, so please stop commenting it, at least on our videos, so I don't have to see it. Ignorance is truly bliss. And ultimately, in at number 2, no Mr. Beast. I've seen a load of comments about people saying, why would Mr. Beast do this, or making jokes like Mr. Beast is gonna do a whoever kills 5 kids first gets $1 million video, but Mr. Beast has no affiliation with Virtual Dining Concepts, which is the company making this delivery service possible, okay? Mr. Beast doesn't own it, he doesn't have any stake in it from what I know, he has nothing to do with Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Delivery. I don't want there to be any issues that come up because people think that he is affiliated with this, okay? Jimmy has nothing to do with Freddy's. He only has affiliation with Mr. Beast Burger, which was also made possible by Virtual Dining Concepts. Me introducing it like that was just that you know that it was real. The company that made Mr. Beast Burger possible also is making FNAF possible. The two aren't related, except just because the company made both happen. I don't know if that makes you disappointed or happy about it, but there is no connection to Mr. Beast whatsoever unless they end up sponsoring him for a video so that they can like get the word out even more, or so that he can make like a version of the restaurant for a video and invite FNAF tubers or FNAF fans over for a chance to win it in a similar fashion to how he invited people over to win a chocolate factory. But even if that video does happen, it will only be a sponsorship deal and not an actual partnership, okay? It's like just like when YouTubers get sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, okay? It's just the sponsor. We don't have any stake in Raid, okay? It would only be a sponsorship deal, okay? And the location that he would make wouldn't actually be a restaurant. It would only be used for that video and then it would be dismantled. Possibly even in the same place that he built the chocolate factory, assuming that he's renting like that unit or owns it. And finally, in at number 1, delivery service. I cannot emphasize this enough, okay? I saw a lot of people commenting saying that there's a real location finally, or asking where it is, or why would they do that? It's not that kind of restaurant. It's not a restaurant, it's a delivery service. Just like how you can't actually walk into a Mr. Beast Burger, there will be no physical location for you to visit. The whole point of Virtual Dining Concepts is that existing kitchens have the ability to make these, and they can opt in, turning them into outlets for these restaurants recipes. Like when you order Mr. Beast Burger, there is no actual Mr. Beast Burger restaurant. It's something that like a Wendy's or something is like making the food either in their kitchen or in a food truck on their property, but you can't actually like go up to that food truck and order. It will be the same concept for this place, okay, but with places that already serve these kinds of food. As it says on the Virtual Dining Concepts website, quote, "Don't change who you are. We have brands that fit your current kitchen, suppliers, and way of working." So, there is and most likely will not be a real Freddy Fazbear's unless Scott intends to make it like a 2-week special location in the future for potential lore or whatever, okay? But there is none at the moment, and there won't be when this launches. You just order this on food delivery apps, okay? No. In its 7, menu. We don't currently have a proper menu for the Fazbear's service yet, but currently what we know is that according to Virtual Dining Concepts website, quote, "The easy to execute menu features craveable pizza rolls with a unique twist and game tie-ins that new and current fans will want to order over and over again." Now, whether the unique twist is death or a special topping is one thing, however I'm pretty sure that we can all guess they'll also be serving pizza with a variety of customizable topping, especially according to their Twitter, since they did ask what our favorite pizza topping was in a tweet. I'm disappointed that there weren't more favorite pizza place jokes in there in those replies. However, based on the comments on our first short on the subject, there are going to be some scarier replies to that tweet as well, because it's Twitter. Luckily, I don't think they'll be adding fingers to the meat add-ons. We can also guess that they'll be serving similar stuff to like a normal Chuck E. Cheese or a pizza place, so soda, chicken as well, because Chica, I'm guessing, mini brownies, and probably a small variety of desserts. They may even have cake, because it's supposed to be a place you can go for your birthday, which I think would make the most sense, but only if the kitchen that ends up taking on this additional menu would also normally make cake. And at 6, no relation. XBlue is a YouTube group that has been working on making multiple FNAF locations real. They've done FNAF 4 and recently seemingly completed a recreation of FNAF 1, despite their channel description saying in progress, but their video saying that it's done. So maybe they're adding the finishing touches right now. The YouTube channel, to my knowledge, has no affiliation with Virtual Dining Concepts or Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Delivery. However, their videos are incredibly cool and interesting, so if you want to see their rendition of a real FNAF, go check them out on YouTube, okay? I'm sure that if you're this deep into the FNAF algorithm, you've already seen it, but I might as well point you in their direction anyway, okay? Go subscribe to them. They're pretty cool. However, they do not have any relation to Virtual Dining Concepts or this delivery service as far as I know, okay? There also is no real location for this delivery service to operate from, again, so their videos have nothing to do with this announcement. Honestly, the announcement seems like it was rushed, again, because we ended up finding out thanks to the website having the information, then everyone started tweeting about it. But we were like, actually, we were 2 days late to the party on that short. By the way, that was a whole other thing that was 2 days before, and I was like, oh, we should probably release a short. And besides, if they were affiliated, wouldn't they have made the FNAF 1 location first instead of second after FNAF 4? Or wouldn't they just have not posted it on YouTube because, you know, NDAs, legal stuff, Scott loving the element of surprise? Yeah, I'd think so too. Halfway through into number 5, Twitter hoax. The Twitter account of Diamond Zia on June 27, 2020 tweeted out 3 photos with the line of "FNAF will be real in 48 hours. These pictures were of news articles. One from the USA Today titled "5 Children Have Gone Missing Inside Chuck E. Cheese. Parents Report Smells Coming ... One from the Associated Press called "Post-Hour Worker at Chuck E. Cheese Reported Dead at 27. And a final one from Something News titled "Night Shift Workers at Chuck E. Cheese's Claim Strange Movements from Animatronics During Post Hours." However, this title had animatronics spelt incorrectly. It said animatronics. Everyone was freaking out at these pictures of the articles, okay, particularly the first one, and they were shared all over the internet, okay? People were losing their minds, especially because this was around the time where Chuck E. Cheese was closing. However, people didn't realize that these were fake, okay? How are they fake, you ask? Simple source code editing. Well, okay, it's simple to me because I know how to do it, but if you don't know, it may seem complicated. But in reality, you can change what anything says on any website, but it will only change for you until you reload the page by editing the source code. All you need to do is like find the aspect that you're looking for after you right click and click inspect. Yeah, like especially on Google Chrome, it's easy. Once you do that, like once you find the aspect, you can change it to whatever you want. You can change pictures, you can change titles, you can do whatever. So whoever made the original image had found an article potentially potentially already about Chuck E. Cheese closing from USA Today, and then changed the title to 5 Children Go Missing. And the same thing with the other articles, hence why there were only images of the articles and not the actual links, okay? It was a hoax that blew up, and people actually believed it, and some still do, and something that's related to this restaurant, but it's not, okay? That was all fake, and plus, that was 2 years ago, alright? There's no relation between those at all. In at 4, no animatronics. Guys, I cannot stress this enough, there is no actual location, meaning that there won't be any animatronics that you can meet, unless your Uber Eats driver wants to go the extra mile and for some reason has a spare FNAF costume laying in his trunk or in his backpack. I don't really think it's gonna happen, and you know what, if they do have a spare one, that's gonna be questionable. Obviously things can change, like they may have a uniform or something to give to the drivers, but I can pretty much guarantee that that's not going to happen. Yeah, especially not like that, okay? If Mr. Beast even doesn't do that with Mr. Beast Burger, and it's Mr. Beast, I don't think that they're gonna be doing it for anyone else, okay? Sorry guys, but you won't be meeting any actual animatronics unless some seriously hardcore drivers go all out, or there's some secret ARG element that Scott plans on including that we have no idea about, okay? But also, that's not me saying that there is an ARG. I don't fully believe that there is, but the appearance of a Freddy Fazbear's delivery service after the community had been told that no non-official business would participate is very sus in my opinion, okay? Scott is a sussy baka, all aboard the sus bus. Plus, it said that the pizza rolls are gonna have game tie-ins. So, unless that's like a name, that's additionally sus. Dude, it's like I'm seeing this delivery service vent all over Skeld.
Number 3, the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. We don't really know for certain if the Freddy's we see in FNAF 2 is the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. In fact, I think it's likely that it's not the first one. We know that Fredbear's Family Diner came and went, and that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza followed it, and we know that Henry, Emily, and William Afton are no longer seemingly involved with Freddy's at that time. At least they don't evidently appear to be involved. However, they could be operating behind the scenes somehow, pulling strings without, anyone knowing who they really are in regards to the company. Incognito, if you will. As such, we don't know if there were other Freddy Fazbear's locations that came in between Fredbear's Family Diner and the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that we see in FNAF 2. After all, while there is a short period of time between the establishment of those two locations, it's possible that there were multiple locations running at once, and that perhaps they were opened up one shortly after the other. Perhaps there are more FNAF restaurants that we simply don't know about, and those ones being real would be pretty cool as they'd be completely new in regards to lore and possibly even appearance, so it would allow us to see something completely new that we haven't seen yet in the games. A fun place to explore. Number 2, Chica's Party World. Other people might not hype it, and it doesn't technically exist in the lore, as far as I know, but Chica's Party World is a location that was mentioned in the source code for many of the teasers for the sister location game. It was teased that way, but never came up in sister location or anywhere else that I can think of. Still, just the idea of a restaurant where Chica is the main character sounds amazing. I mean, we all love Chica, so of course, that just makes sense as a location that, we wish could be real. If it does even exist in the lore somewhere, I guess, and not just, in teaser source code for SL. I also like to imagine that at Chica's Party World, instead of the food focus being on pizza, it would be on Chica's fried chicken. And cupcakes. I mean, there's gotta be cupcakes, right? Number 1, Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. I mean, obviously, I think the number one for me, and probably for all of us, has to be the Mega Pizzaplex. It's just way too cool. And it's massive. And like Gregory, I would want to be around after close. Does that seem a little crazy considering all the awful things that we witness in Security Breach as Gregory? Probably, but I still feel like it would be really cool. If not also scary, it would be just a cool place to be stuck overnight. At the Mega Pizzaplex, there is so much to see and do and explore. Just whatever you do, don't get trapped in the Phaser Blaster laser maze for a million years like Markiplier did during his playthrough. That seems like it would be more frustrating than fun. Although oddly enough, that actually has been my personal experience with laser tag in real life in the past. When I was a kid, I always got lost in those mazes. I was like, Marshall, help, where am I? How do I get out of here?